here we are. It took a couple minutes, some Wi-Fi issues, some recording issues, but we're finally back. Should be a fun series. We're like halfway done with our summer series already, which is crazy to think about. Corstian, how are you doing? Still there? Can you hear me?
I'm here. I can hear you now.
Okay. All good. I was just asking how you doing.
Okay.
We're still running into the technical difficulties.
Yep.
Okay, great. So we're going to try and work through this as best we can, all things considered. But today we're going to be talking about the NFC East. So should be a fun topic. There's a lot of crazy things that have happened to this division last season. It's quickly become one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL. And it contains the Super Bowl champions from last year, the Philadelphia Eagles, which should be pretty exciting. We'll start off with the Dallas Cowboys. This is a team with a lot of transition. Fired Mike McCarthy, brought Matt Eberflus as defensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer as the head coach. Corstian, when you look at their schedule and the overall makeup of this team, what should we be expecting out of the Dallas Cowboys?
I feel like the Cowboys, they got like a tough back half of the schedule, but like it's not overly complicated throughout the season. I think head coaching change should be a good thing. Having a healthy Dak Prescott all season long, I think will be a really good thing for them too. I like to dog on the Cowboys as much as pretty much everybody else. But a lot of their struggles last season was simply due to the fact of injuries that happened. Because like literally 2 years ago, Dak Prescott had an MVP caliber, season. Sure, he's older and coming back from injuries. You don't know how close back to 100% they are, but I like to give him the benefit of the doubt here, especially now you bring in George Pickens, who, this is probably the best wide receiver duo he's been able to play. Brandon Cooks was good last season as well, but I think George Pickens is an upgrade over that. And then you look at just the other parts of their team where they brought in a lot of people over the course of the offseason, both, from other teams via free agency and trades, a decent amount of rookies, and obviously you have a lot of second-year guys stepping up into big-time roles as well. So, I'm a fan of, George Pickens. Dante Fowler Jr., I think, is a semi-decent replacement for losing Marcus Lawrence. Obviously, Lawrence is still a game wrecker, but I think Fowler gives a little bit more of that the sack pass rush element that maybe Lawrence hasn't shown as much recently because of Micah Parsons. And then I also do like Jack Sanborn and Kenneth Murray. So I liked a lot of the free agents they brought, especially compared to last season, because last year in free agency, they brought in Eric Kendricks, Ezekiel Elliott, and Royce Freeman. Those are the three off-season, non-draft additions they had to their team last year. So that felt really disappointing. So it looks like they made a lot of moves this season to be competitive. And then looking at their schedule, I think a floor for them is sitting around that 500 mark too.
Yeah, I was just about to agree. I think the 500 mark is an accurate assessment for them. When I look at this team, they have talent in the most important places, but the overall team structure is lacking a little bit. So starting out the gate with Philadelphia, Super Bowl champs in Philadelphia, that is not a great recipe for disaster. And then you think about the teams they have to face after the bye, after the Raiders. That's just a gauntlet of a schedule, like you mentioned. So I think they'll start off pretty hot, where teams are being are the Cowboys trying to win the division or get a top 4 seed or top 5 seed or something like that. And then they'll suddenly go into these must-win games where they might be competitive, but they could easily lose all of them. So it's a tough schedule break from that perspective. But when I look at the actual team itself, I like a lot of the additions you mentioned as well. But then the two things stand out to me is who steps up in the secondary when you got Trayvon Diggs coming back from injury. are you really going to rely on a rookie and like Shaven Revel? I know he's coming back from injury himself, but like that is an area for concern, especially in like the nickelback area. That is what I would be worried about. I'm not too worried about their front four. Now with like all the changes in their offensive line, Terrence Steele is kind of the guy you're looking at here. So it's like, can he be a leader and can he gravitate that? But I think more important than that, you're trying to find an answer in the running game. And like you got to see is the combination of Delonte Williams and Miles Sanders the answer, because I don't think so. I think you're going to put a lot of pressure on Jaden Blue. And those are kind of my thoughts just looking at their roster and how I see them faring during the season.
Yeah, running back is also a big worry of mine going into the season as well. I mean, like you had Rico Dowdle last season, who although he's not like an elite talent, he already moved off in free agency to be a backup running back. So I mean that's kind of the pedigree that he has in terms of like the rest of the league. But like I feel like the fact that he did so well, it would have been nice if they tried to keep him around. I understand you're trying to like shift things around, obviously. You're hoping that you get pre-injury Javonte Williams. You're hoping you get the Philadelphia version of Miles Sanders here, which both of these two guys are pretty far removed from. I'd say the one good thing about this team is you could argue maybe they're a really strong like run block offensive line scheme that they have here, just with the fact that Rico Dowdle played so well last season. And so maybe they just have confidence in their run blocking capabilities that they think that this kind of backfield committee could potentially eat. But yeah, like you said, it's a concern. And the fact that Deuce Vaughn, who a guy I think a lot of people are excited for, like 2 seasons ago in preseason, really hasn't been able to rise up the depth chart, I think says more than I think we hope for him. But yeah.
A guy I'm looking at is Sam Williams. He is somebody that's had like a breakout rookie season, but then like going into his second year, like he suffered a knee injury. And this is a guy that has the size and athletic ability for being an elite edge rusher, but you're really looking at him to kind of step up in the absence of DeMarcus Lawrence. I get that you get Dante Fowler, but he's been like the Dallas organization for a while now, so you're kind of expecting big things from him. Other guy thinking about was like obviously you mentioned Terrence Steele. The other guy is Tyler Guyton because he did not have a great season last year. And you're kind of stepping into the shoes of a Tyron Smith. That's going to be really hard to fill. So second-year player I'm also looking at as well. Well, Sam Williams, technically second year, even though he's going to his third. Looking at those two guys, like especially at like either end of the trenches, that's so important. And then we had talked at length about the George Pickens trade and how that's going to be beneficial from a spacing perspective. But can he play with the intensity and the speed that he spoke of when he was joining this roster? Like, that's going to matter a lot to alleviate CeeDee Lamb because CeeDee is going to put up the numbers. It's just like, can the rest of the offense be sustainable around him? So, just a couple areas to look at there.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I think they'll play better than they did last season.
Yeah, I think so too, just because of Dak coming back. But I think the key thing is the health, right? You got to look at that. Like as far as their draft, like they did pretty good. Their first 3 picks. Want to say Jaden Blue? That's true too. We'll see. They had a lot of day 3 picks. I don't know how well they're going to turn out, but it should be.
Well, we'll see.
They did great on day 1 and day 2. Like so, I think they're set up to stockpile a little bit, but it's hard for me to put them higher than 3rd with where Washington and Philadelphia end of the season. They both ended up in the championship game for a reason. And it's going to be an uphill climb for the Cowboys to try and get a wild card spot.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Super Bowl chance, Philadelphia. What else could you say about them? I think they've done their job last season. They finally dethroned the evil empire. great roster, top to bottom. Like you look at this team, and it's like absolutely no weaknesses. They're bringing everybody back. For the most part, I say for the most part, and then you look at their key bosses, and it's like 6-7 people deep. But you look at the rest of their team, they're like these are guys that have been on their team for a while now. So, I think the only guy to worry about is the other defensive end spot. Now that you lost Josh Sweat and Milton Williams and Bryce Huff, like that's a lot of losses to make up. So I'm very curious to see how they fill that void. But other than that, the majority of their defense is back, and I'm not too worried about their secondary because of the strides we've seen from DeJean and Mitchell for the last course of the season. So I think they're ready to fill the gaps. Talk to me about what you see in like schedule wise. Do you think they're primed for a repeat?
I feel like any Super Bowl team you could argue is primed for some sort of repeat. Obviously they have a tough schedule just with looks like they go through the NFC North and the AFC West as their AFC and NFC division. Plus they go ahead and face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, obviously division winners here. So it's a really tough schedule for them, but also they are a tough team, and like sure they lost a lot of pieces, but you look at like what exactly they lost. Oh, I forgot to add a guy that they also added here. I'll quickly mark that. But like you mentioned the losses of like Josh Sweat and Bryce Huff. Just looking back at last year's roster going into the season, the two starters at edge rushers was Nolan Smith and Bryce Huff. I don't know if I'm cut out. It was Nolan Smith and Bryce Huff, and so you really just lost one of your starting edge rushers there. You bring in Azeez Ojulari, who is like throughout his career he's been a serviceable pass rusher, and when you're having him in the mix with this caliber of defense, I think it's a lot of pressure off of his shoulders. So you're going to maybe see him eat quite a bit this season. You bring in Josh Uche, I think from the Patriots as a backup pass rusher, and then like sure they lost James Bradbury, who's kind of on his tail end already last season, and then you lose Darius Slay, which is kind of a blow. But I mean, when you drafted Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean last season, it's kind of a situation where we can afford an expensive veteran cornerback to go because we got two guys that we trust here. There's Kelly Ringo has developed into a better cornerback than he was his rookie season, which is a huge thing for them. And then they also did bring in Adoree Jackson from the Giants. And so it's like you stack up that, you're stacked on all ends, like all fronts. Sure, losing Milton Williams does stink, but it's like it's hard to afford Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and Milton Williams as your 3 out of 3 down defensive linemen. And so the fact that you have 2 of 3 being superstars is crazy. Offensive line, still good as ever. I feel like the one genuine weakness on this team might be the tight end position with Dallas Goedert just getting hurt.
Yeah, and I really like Harrison Bryant since he was in Cleveland, and I love the prototypes that kind of Granson and Grant Calcaterra's like really showing up in a lot of key spots. So you could almost say like Dallas Goedert's underutilized in the system, but it's really, if you look at the receivers full depth, I really like the fact you brought up Ringo because of the Darius Slay loss, and they're placing a lot of confidence on him. And fun fact, he is 23. He's younger than like 5 of the rookies the Eagles have drafted. And I think that with him and the combination of Adoree Jackson, the onus is going to be on them to really hold up their end of the bargain because they're going to be the quote-unquote weaknesses of this defense. Love the Jahad Campbell pick, such a Howie Roseman move from first-round perspective. That was a great selection. And like Andrew Makuba, also a great selection. They have a lot of these traits and attributes they find in these guys. And while I am worried about how they're going to replenish the top 4, despite having Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and Nolan Smith, I think they're in a pretty good spot where they are roster-wise without it. So I'm not too worried on the Philadelphia front. I'm looking at their schedule. Yes, you got the 2 divisions you mentioned, but I think this is still like a 11 to 13 win team, despite the caliber of opponents they're facing being higher than like what I would consider other teams if I were to weigh it. Just because they have the most complete offense in the NFL. Their defense was like rock solid at the beginning of last year. They're going to be the team everybody's kind of trying dethrone. And some teams will play up to that. Some teams will feel the pressure and back away. And I think you'll see the real strength of teams like over the course of the season there. And not many people can guard A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Saquon Barkley on the same field with a stationary quarterback. And then you got Jalen Hurts. Fun fact, I think ESPN did like a blind ranking of the top 10 QBs. You know where Jalen Hurts was ranked after winning Super Bowl MVP?
What?
He was ranked 8. 8 out of 10. Like, that is insane. I think Justin Herbert was ahead of him. Like, that is insane to me. Like, even after winning a Super Bowl and being one of the only guys to beat Mahomes at that stage of the playoffs. Like, after the season, I get it. You had Saquon putting a 2,000-yard season, but he's literally outplayed Mahomes in his two Super Bowls they played each other with. And I just found that ridiculously disrespectful.
Yeah. I just think, I think a lot of people are down on Jalen Hurts this season just because, they strictly look at the passing stats. Because he doesn't hit 3,000 pass yards, which, I feel like for most quarterbacks is a red flag. But I think you look at how efficient he was with the ball, and I think that says a lot about how just his overall level of play. Again, you look at his ability to play in the playoffs. And I think going into this season, we'll see a decent boost in Jalen Hurts' passing stats. I don't see Saquon Barkley getting nearly as many carries or at least having near as much efficiency as he did last season. I still think he plays phenomenal out of his mind. But, repeat 2,000-yard seasons is really difficult to do, right? Plus, I think we saw Saquon kind of begin to fizzle, or not fizzle, but like slow down a bit in the playoffs. And so I think the Eagles are going to try to keep him fresher for the back half of the season. Obviously, still using him to win games during the regular season, but making it so that he can put up those elite numbers we like to see in the playoffs when it really, really matters, so that it doesn't turn all of a sudden Jalen Hurts has to put the entire team on his back, like it kind of felt like for the offense during the Super Bowl, because Saquon really did struggle. Also, not to say that like the Chiefs don't have a good defense either. The Chiefs defense phenomenal. They game plan for Saquon properly. But having Saquon fresher in the playoffs, I think would do them wonders. So we'll probably see Jalen Hurts back around that 3,500 plus passing yard next season is my assumption and guess.
Yeah, and I think they didn't really have the right depth behind Saquon Barkley too. Like over the course of last season. Like I get Will Shipley as second on the depth chart around him, and he could grow a lot in the second year, but like AJ Dillon is some guy I would not forget about. Like he is probably the handcuff you want for Saquon's season, because Saquon was the Madden cover for this year, and we know the curse of that for running backs. So even to spell Barkley, knock on wood, he doesn't get hurt. But even to spell Barkley, A.J. Dillon is like a really, really sneaky candidate that I would keep my eye on. And I have to rely on him more so to like where I don't think Saquon hits 2,000 yards. I don't think he hits 1,800 yards. He might hit more like 1,200, 1,400 because his touches are just reduced. But you're gonna trade that in for like a more efficient Barkley in the playoffs because he has the energy to do so. So that's something I would just keep an eye on, just as a dynamic there.
Yeah, because you look at his stats last season, right? He ran the ball 345 times for that 2,000 yards. His next highest carry to yard season was back in 2022, where he had 295 rush attempts for 1,300 yards. So that's like, just about 50 less carries for 700 less yards. So like, think about how much wear and tear he builds up with all those 700 extra rushing yards, plus an extra 50 rush attempts where he's getting hit pretty much,
Plus playing in February and having to turn around and like you're playing in 2 months all of a sudden. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the ceiling is high for this team as ever. they're my pick to win the division because like they're complete like top to bottom as a roster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a deep playoff run again next season. Like what did they lose?
Right.
And so, yeah, I think they're chilling. Again, it'll be a tough season, so there'll be a lot of grindy games, but still, I wouldn't be surprised to see them run that 12-13 win mark.
One thing I'd be surprised about is if the New York Giants even sniff 10 wins this year. Yeah, they have a late bye week, and it doesn't get easy for them. Like once you hit week 3 to 13, that is a rough schedule that they have going on. So, yeah, I don't anticipate this team winning more than 5 games. They win more than 5 games. That's a win in my book. But yeah, they did plan their offseason pretty nicely when you look at their roster, like especially from the quarterback spot. They made sure, one, they didn't reach for their quarterback. They got a really, really blue chip player in what's his name? Abdul Carter. We can't overlook that. That's going to be a transformational piece on their defense, in addition to having Dexter Lawrence and Ryan Burns like leading your front four. That can't be overlooked. Then you get guys like Ron Holland, Paulson Adebo to round out your secondary. Those are low-key additions that you don't even think about. But I think the big thing was like not tipping your hand at the quarterback spot. Would I have selected Jackson Dart? No. Personally, I probably would have gotten Jalen Milroe. But the fact you kind of insulated yourself by getting both Jameis and Russell Wilson, I think is a great development piece for the Giants where they can win now and develop quarterback the right way. I'm expecting big things for Malik Neighbors. I would not be surprised if he finishes top 5 in fantasy this year from the pursuit spot. He's a great wide receiver. I am really high on Jalen Hyatt. We'll see what he does. Because I think he's going to be kind of like the deep threat that Russell Wilson needs. And I think to have that is great. Tyrone Tracy had a really great start to the year, but the end of the season was kind of shaky at best. So we'll see. Like, can he be consistent throughout the season, or is Cam Scatteroo going to take over?
Yeah. I think the thing that stood out to me the most was just looking at their second-year guys and how well they were able to draft last season. Because, I mean, like, you have 3, 4, 5, 6 draft picks they have, and on their current depth chart, 5 of those guys are slated to start this, like be a starter this year, which I mean, sure, part of it might be just their depth and their guys in the past have really sucked, which I mean has kind of been the case looking at how well they've done over the past couple of years. But also, I mean, like we looked at these guys and like they played good. Tyler Nubin played good at safety. Theo Johnson, he was hurt, but in his short amount of time, he showed that he was decent. Hopefully he gets better as a pass catcher. I know his strength here is more of a blocker, but blocking tight ends make it onto the field for most teams. Malik Neighbors, don't really need to say more about him. And then Tyrone Tracy, who I mean, for I guess where he was drafted, I'm really happy with what he did. Plus, I mean, you still have Devin Singletary, and then you draft Cam Scatteroo. So you got decent depth at running back, even if Tyrone Tracy kind of doesn't repeat kind of what you want him to do going into the season. But yeah, like you said, I mean, they could surprise teams with just kind of surprise upset wins, but I'm just looking at where they are now, like maybe 4 or 5 wins is kind of my estimate for them. Like beating the Saints, maybe it feels like a chance that they got. If the Packers are struggling with the receivers, that's a potential win if they're just in some weird halfway shootout. Maybe if Geno Smith sucks with the Raiders, that's another win you get.
Maybe you're going all the way down to week 17. Like, it's very difficult to pick out like teams that they have clear advantages over.
Yeah, maybe you take one against the Patriots. So it's like just if you look at the opponents, maybe they beat the Broncos, but the Broncos loaded up really high. Maybe Broncos of last year, you could say maybe they have a chance, but like this isn't the Broncos of last year too.
Everybody has Denver just like as a dangerous team this season.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's where they are right now, and it's going to be hard for the Giants to kind of like upset the apple cart.
Yeah, and then maybe you squeak one against like the Commanders if Jaden Daniels has a sophomore slump, but that's like a if statement, so it's like not even a real thing that it just trying to squeeze out wins where we can. I'm like 4 or 5 wins maybe, but who knows? Maybe they put in Jackson Dart and he has a Jaden Daniels / Bo Nix caliber of play and wows the league. And you don't know, but like that's kind of the wild card of the team is maybe Jackson Dart starts at some point this season, just absolutely balls out, gets them a couple more wins than expected. But beyond that, I don't have too much confidence in this team.
I'm just going to give you the list of guys picked at the end of the round, and I know Jordan Love and Lamar Jackson are kind of exceptions here, but you got Jackson or Love as possible outcomes, or you got performances similar to Kenny Pickett, Paxton Lynch. You're familiar with him. Johnny Manziel,
2017. These are old.
Brandon Weeden and Tim Tebow, even older. So it's like not great. And they traded up to get him. And I see the traits. But Brian Dable is going to have to blast past this year if he wants a chance to develop this guy. And I just don't know if he has that kind of leeway with where the ownership is.
Yeah. But also, I mean, half of this division starting quarterbacks weren't even first-round picks. So, we don't really know much. But like you said, it's an unfavorable statistic to have.
100%. Okay, let's move on to the exciting team and the team that I get frustrated and mad about all the time because they won on a lucky Hail Mary that's replayed over and over and over in the NFL season highlights. It drives me nuts. Washington Commanders. They picked Jaden Daniels second overall because the Bears picked Caleb Williams and has most of the NFL thinking, did the Bears screw up again? That's the only thing that relates to me, like, even looking at this team. The Darlings went to the NFC Championship game, and even if you look at this team for, like, where their schedule is at this year to how they finished, it looks pretty decent. Like, not going to lie, they could start 5-0. They really can start 6-0, 7-0 maybe. Like, they look primed to, like, start off the season hot. And, like, even though their bye week, like, before the bye week, it gets tougher. And towards the end of their schedule, they have kind of a rough schedule. It's a team that can easily hit 10 to 12 wins. Like, I really see that with them.
Yeah, looking at their schedule, too, I'm like, there's, like, 6 games that I'd be scared, maybe 7 games that I'd be kind of, like, scared for them. But that's even just being like, oh, some of these games are still 50-50s. And so there's maybe, like, 3 games that I'm like, they probably lose, being the Chiefs, the Lions, and, like, against the Eagles are really, like, the teams where I look at, I'm like, oh, shoot, like, yikes for them. But, like, outside of that, there's,
they just beat the Lions in the playoffs last year.
Right? And so it's like, and then, like, beyond that, it's like the Dolphins, the Broncos, the Vikings, maybe the Chargers are, like, the teams that are like, okay, they could lose to them, but they also very much could just win outright, Even the Bears I put in that mix of, like, it could be a close game. But then, yeah, I mean, they are a good team. I think they loaded up well. They've been drafting decently enough. We'll see how this year's guys go. I'm a fan of Jalen Lane. They drafted him in the 4th round. He's good in the slot, and so I think he adds, decent value there. They didn't really lose much over the course of the offseason. You lose Jonathan Allen, but you also get Javon Kinlaw. You sign Eddie Goldman as another depth piece. You already got Daron Payne and Dorrance Armstrong, so, like, you got solid guys here. Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner have been a phenomenal linebacker duo. Mike Sainstra was a guy I was high on the previous season, and he kind of found his own here. So you got I like a lot of aspects of this team. Don't know what I'd be like overly. Maybe like running back is still like the weakness here. I mean, Brian Robinson's an okay guy. Austin Eckler is just getting older. I mean, Jackery Krosky Merritt from Arizona, the 7th round guy, was kind of one of the guys that I'm like could do something just because he's a running back and running backs can really pop up out of nowhere. But I'm a fan of them bringing in Debo. It's kind of an interesting dynamic player that could really boost just some of the things that they want to do on offense. So we'll see.
Yeah, running back scares me a little bit because you got an aging back in Austin Eckler, and Brian Robinson didn't exactly like wow you. I think the big thing is like you make the big trade for Laramie Tunsil, right? So that gives them even more time to make plays. That's definitely great considering like what they have in their middle three. So love the fits there. One guy I would keep an eye on is one of your boys, Luke McCaffrey. I think he's going to carve out a meaningful role for himself. I know they invested in Jalen Lane, but I think going into his second year slot receiver, like I think he'll have a better understanding of the playbook, more confidence, being able to play much faster. And now that you got Debo in the mix too, you're going to open up a lot more in the middle of the field for yourself. So, I would keep an eye on him in particular. Juan Martin and Bo Harris are kind of the guys where it's like, I don't know if you want that in the back of your secondary. But they're really high on them in the building, so we'll see what happens there. Those would probably be my only 2 question marks about the team.
Yeah. Overall, like you said, I forgot to mention the Laramie Tunsil acquisition like that. But I think a big thing for them is I know there's the whole contract discussion situation with Terry McLaurin right now. Obviously, like McLaurin came out with a statement saying he does not want to get traded right now. He just is looking to get a new contract extension. But he said that the front office hasn't, really come out to him at all to discuss any contract negotiations. And so I think McLaurin really is the make it or break it for this receiver room. And so I think hopefully, you get a deal done. I know he's reported to one of the camps already. But that's something big for them that you want, because I think Debo Samuel, the type of offense they ran last season, I don't think Debo is good to be like the wide receiver 1. I think he's a great wide receiver 2, is a compliment to Terry McLaurin. Same with Jalen Lee and Noah Brown, as guys that work in the slot and just other ways that, just really they don't have a guy that does what Terry does at it, just in general as an overall skill set. And so he really opens up the offense for the team. And so you're really going to need him to be happy and on this team, going into this year. Because if not, I think this offense could potentially face a big-time sophomore slump, which is something not a lot of people, I think, want to see.
Yeah, no, exactly. And could they win a division with Philadelphia's strength of schedule being what it is? Yeah, they probably can. They look a lot better now, more equipped to handle them offensively than they did last season. I think the big thing just comes down to, is Laramie Tunsil enough to upgrade the entire offensive line? I'm not sure about that. Everything else, like I think their defensive line got more depth, so they can challenge Philadelphia more easily in that front. And their secondary is a lot stronger with Sandro going into his second year. And you have Marshawn Lattimore, who's more integrated into the system now. I like this team. I don't know if I see them going back to the championship game, though. I think the path for them to get there and like how surprising they were kind of have people's expectations going really high. Like Jaden Daniels is a number 5 overall quarterback I could see, but I don't see them skyrocketing because of him. I think there's a lot of other holes they need to fill too. I would have loved to see them get like the bell cow back. Like that would have been a guy like that. If you were able to land your hands on one, that would have been excellent. So, and you gotta wait for the Terry McLaurin signing to be official.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge love because the amount of clutch plays he made last year is just borderline
Mhm.
insane, especially towards the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to lock him up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, still, yeah, I think it'll be a tight race for first place in the division between them and the Eagles. Just, I think the Commanders have an easier schedule. I think the Eagles are a better team just for top to bottom. And so just due to those two situations, yeah, I think it could be close. I mean, Cowboys could just blow up out of nowhere and be in that race just as much as these two guys. If, Prescott plays like he did 2 years ago. But I think this, I mean, outside of the Giants, this should probably be a fun division to keep track of.
Yeah, we were saying this like 2-3 years ago. It was mostly just Philadelphia. Maybe the Cowboys could sneak in and stuff like that, despite Dak going off numbers. Because there are a lot of concerns about McCarthy. So the fact that the Washington Commanders are turning it around so quickly is just incredible, and makes the NFC a lot more exciting to see. So this should be a fun division. I think the Eagles still have a stronghold on this, but obviously things can change in the blink of an eye. So we shall see. Corstian, any parting words about this division for us?
I don't think so. I think, yeah, like I said, it'll be a fun season, I think, for all of these all fans of these teams. Even if the Giants aren't that successful, hopefully you see a little bit of Jackson Dart this year. And I guess you get to see, how Abdul Carter plays. And I think just knowing that you potentially have, really good anchor pieces both on offense and defense for the Giants will be really good for them. And then just the other three teams in terms of competing for the playoffs, I think will be really fun too.
Yeah, 100% made the right decision with Abdul Carter. Don't know about Jackson Dart. That was kind of a dart throw. No pun intended. So that came out terrible. But thank you guys so much for watching. You can follow us on our Instagram channel, amon.a.mission. We have a full-length YouTube channel, Amon A Mission, where you can see all of our episodes uploaded there. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment for more vids. And we will see you guys next week to cover the AFC East. Take care, guys.
Yes, sir. Peace.